Hello friends, today we are going to acquaint ourselves with the Buddhist philosophy. As we all know that ancient India has three important philosophers, Manu, Kautilya and Gautama Buddha. Whereas Manu and Kautilya have attached themselves to the Hindu social order, Gautama Buddha has found an alternative to Hindu social order and he himself found a religion called Buddhism. Buddha is a rationalist. Buddha does not believe in rituals and his ideas are more philosophical. They are ranging from culture, politics, economy to social order. So Buddha's influence was very immense in many parts of the country and also in many countries of Southeast Asia and some areas of the world. So Buddha was a great philosopher who belonged to 6th century BC. Buddha was an ancient Indian social and political philosopher. His philosophy ranges from the individual behavior to social behavior and the obligations of the state and obligations of the king and so on. So his philosophy consisted of social ideas, political ideas, and also some of the economic ideas. So Buddha was an ancient Indian philosopher. We cannot clearly say that he is a political philosopher because his philosophy also consisted of certain social ideas also. So he is a philosopher more of a social and political nature. So Buddha was an ancient Indian social and political philosopher. And the important characteristic of Buddhist political tradition is the ethical basis of political ideas. In all his political ideas, there is an ethical basis. So he makes an appeal both to the individual and to the community as such to have ethical basis and moral orientation in their day-to-day living. So that's how all the political ideas of Buddha have an ethical basis. In fact, some of the political philosophers have separated politics and morality, politics and ethics. But Buddha has combined the political ideas with ethical basis. So that's how ethical basis of political ideas is a characteristic feature of Buddhist political tradition. And he has given more importance to what is good and what is bad, what is fair and what is unfair, what is proper and what is improper, what is just and what is unjust. So this is how every individual has to introspect himself and every community has to make a soul searching on do's and don'ts of its obligations. That's how his political ideas and social ideas have an ethical basis, a moral backing, an orientation filled with moral values. So that's how the political ideas of Buddhist political tradition have a characteristic feature of ethical basis. So this is an important aspect. Gautama Buddha lived in 6th century BC and he has found an alternative religious order to the prevailing social and religious order of Hinduism. So that's called as Buddhism. Gautama Buddha is the founder of Buddhism. This Buddhism has advocated non-violence, charity, benevolence, self-respect and dignity and such other things. This is how he is the founder of Buddhism. In fact, Buddhist social order, Buddhist religious order is laid down with strong foundations with the Buddha's teachings. That's how Gautama Buddha is considered as the father of and founder of Buddhism. And again, Buddhism itself has the moral basis and ethical basis. All the Buddhist ideas, may it be religious ideas or social ideas or cultural ideas or religious ideas, whatever the nature of the idea that it may be, but they should invariably have an ethical basis behind every social idea or political idea or religious idea or social idea. So Buddhism enunciated ritualistic practices and it propagated a rationalistic worship, a rationalistic livelihood patterns for all the human beings. Thus, Gautama Buddha is the founder of Buddhism. Gautama Buddha belonged to 6th century BC, when the whole world is still in ignorance and is still in the darkness of what you call the ignorance, the veil of ignorance. Gautama Buddha has shown the light to the world. So Buddha belonged to 6th century BC. So Buddha is a philosopher who belonged to such an age which is much, much deeper and far than the Greek civilization or Roman civilization and other civilizations. So Buddha belonged to 6th century BC. And along with Buddha, 6th century BC the milestone of having so many philosophers. For example, Vardhaman Mahavir, who founded Jainism, belonged to 6th century BC. And there is one more philosopher in our neighboring country, China. That philosopher is Confucius, the Confucius philosophy of China. Confucius is a great philosopher who also lived in 6th century BC. And likewise in Greek civilization, there is another important philosopher called Pythagoras. In fact, the Pythagoras name is associated more with mathematics than political science. So, Pythagoras of Greece also belongs to 6th century BC. Likewise, the Persian philosopher Zoroaster, and also the Hebrew philosophers Judea and Jeremiah. So this is how 6th century is considered, 6th century BC is considered as a century of having given birth to prominent philosophers of the world. Gautam Buddha, Vardhaman Mahavir, Confucius, Pythagoras, Zoroaster, Judea and Jeremiah. So this is how 6th century is an intellectual century, a century that has given so many philosophers to the civilized world. So 6th century BC is a milestone in the spread of intelligence, philosophy, philosophical ideas, and spiritual ideas to the world. 6th century BC has so many prominent philosophers along with Gautam Buddha. We have Vardhaman Mahavir, who propagated Jainism, and likewise Confucius, who lived in China, Pythagoras of Greece, Zoroaster of Persia, Judea and Jeremiah of Hebrew. So 6th century BC has given birth to so many philosophers. So among them, Gautam Buddha is considered a very noble philosopher with characteristic social and political ideas which have an ethical basis. So Gautam Buddha also belongs to 6th century BC. Gautam Buddha's political tradition is antagonistic to Hindu political ideas. As I was telling you in the beginning itself, Buddha opposed ritualism, opposed the ritualistic practices in worship. He is more of the philosophical nature than the spirit, the ritualistic nature. So he opposed naturally to Hindu political ideas and Hindu social order, which is filled with rituals. So Gautam Buddha's political tradition is antagonistic, is opposite to Hindu political ideas and Hindu political and social order. Buddha is a rationalist, and he emphasized on human and ethical values in social order. So he's a rationalist. He is always trying to find the relationship between cause and effect. So whoever finds a relation between or whoever establishes a relation between cause and effect is considered as a rationalist. So Buddha is also considered as a rationalist. So he has observed so many things, and all his observations in the later ages have taken deep philosophical roots. So this is how his philosophy is founded on rationalistic principles. By himself, he is a rationalist, and he has opposed all the rituals, opposed all the blind faiths and dark faiths, the Hindu social order in general, and also the blind faiths in the contemporary period in particular. Buddha was a rationalist, and he tried to always establish a relationship between cause and effect. That's why he is called as a rationalist. And he emphasized on human and ethical values in social order. So he was the philosopher, maybe the first philosopher, who has propagated human values and ethical values in social order. So that's the greatness of Gautam Buddha. Now in today's lesson, this is on Buddha and his Dhamma. We'll be discussing our lesson with a proper categorization. First of all, we'll see Gautam Buddha's life and contemporary conditions. After that, we'll see Gautam Buddha's political ideas and social ideas, and what are the sources, what are the intellectual works through which we can acquaint ourselves with Buddha's social and political ideas. What are the academic works, books, or the writings that lay foundation for Buddhist philosophy. So that's called as different sources of Buddhist social and political ideas. After that, we'll specifically study political ideas of Buddha. Generally, in the political ideas of Buddha, three important ideas are there. One is Kamma, second one is Dhamma, third one is Sangha. Dhamma, Kamma, Sangha. Dhamma, Kamma, Sangha. These are the three important ideas. We cannot separately say that these are political ideas. They're also considered as social ideas as well. So Buddha's political ideas, among these political ideas, we have Dhamma. Dhamma is an important political idea. And in today's lesson, we'll be discussing about the idea of Dhamma. Dhamma is nothing but Dharma. In a Pali language, it may be called as Dhamma. But in our regular Sanskrit terminology, it is called Dharma. So the idea of Dhamma, and after that, he has given the Chaturarya Sutras. Chaturarya Sutras means the four noble truths of Dhamma. What are the four noble truths lay behind the Hindu social order or the social order of India? So these are the four noble truths. They are called as Chaturarya Sutra. Chatur means four. Arya means noble. Sutras, they are related to the facts and truths of the society. That's why it is called as four noble truths. After that, he has also given a novel idea of Ashtanga Marga, through which he has given a path for the people to resolve their day-to-day conflicts and have a philosophical outlook in their livelihood. So that's called the Ashtanga Marga. So the idea of Dhamma, the four noble truths, and Ashtanga Marga, these are the three important aspects we have to deal upon today in our class. Now, first of all, let us see what is Dhamma. After that, what are the four noble truths of the social order, and also what are the eightfold path that's called Ashtanga Marga, that is advocated by Gautam Buddha, both to the individual and to the community in the social order. In fact, these ideas like Dhamma, noble truths, or Ashtanga Marga are in a way gives us a blueprint to reform ourselves at an individual level and also at a community level as such. So the idea of Dhamma is not only just Dharma to the individual, it's a Dhamma to the society, the community, the state, and to the king. So Dhamma at various levels. And also the Four Noble Truths, based on which the human behavior has to be molded or to be reformed. That's called the Ashtanga Marga. So in today's lesson, first of all, we'll discuss about Buddha's life and contemporary conditions. After that, we'll be discussing about Buddha's political and social ideas and what are the sources behind these ideas. After that, we'll be discussing about Buddha's political ideas in particular, particularly the idea of Dhamma, the Four Noble Truths, which are also called as Chatur Arya Sutras. And after that, we'll also discuss about the Ashtanga Marga. So this is how the whole lesson plan is formulated. At a later stage, we'll also make an evaluation of Gautam Buddha's idea of Dhamma, Four Noble Truths, and Ashtanga Marga in our conclusion part. So now let us see what is Buddha's life. Buddha is born in a very royal family. Shuddhodana was a king of a small kingdom, and his mother was Mahamaya Devi. And Buddha lost his mother on the third day of his birth. So Buddha was nursed and nurtured by his second mother or stepmother, Prajapati Gautami. So that's why he is called as Gautama Buddha. And he belongs to Sakya dynasty. And during his youthful days, he was also married to Yashodhara. They also had a son, Rahul. So this is all about Buddha's personal life. But at the age of 16, Buddha has left his home in search of truth. Before that, Buddha has witnessed on a royal tour of the city on a particular day. He has seen a corpse, what do you call, a procession of a dead man taken to the burial ground, and also an old man suffering from a deep-rooted illness, and also a yogi with the calmness on his face. So these are the three different perspectives that Buddha has seen while he was on a tour of the city, and he wanted to know why people have sufferings and what could be the way out for all the sufferings of the humankind. So in search of that way out, Buddha has left his place, royal palace, at the age of 18 or 16 years, and he has approached so many, the gurus or the teachers of the then spiritual order, but he could not find any correct answer. But after many years, after many decades of his search for the truth, he himself got the idea of the Chaturarya Sutras and Ashtanga Margas. So this is how Buddha's life, the early part of the life is very luxurious and a comfortable life. But in the later age, Buddha has an inquisitive nature of searching for the truth for all the human sufferings. And he also wanted to discover a way out for all the human sufferings. So in course of that search, Buddha has got the idea of Dhamma, the idea of Kamma, the idea of Sangha. So as a part of this, he has found the Chaturarya Sutras, the Ashtanga Marga, we'll be reading about. And let's also see his contemporary times. Buddha lived in 6th century BC, as I have told you in the beginning itself. And 6th century is also significant with the birth of so many other philosophers like Confucius, Vardhaman Mahavira, Zoroaster, and others. And Buddha's contemporary period in India is marked by small kingdoms. They are called as Ganarajas. They are also called as republics, where the people used to elect a king. That's called as a republic. So the ultimate political power lies in the hands of the people. That's called as a Ganatantra. Ganatantra means a republic, where the ultimate power of electing the chief executive or the king of the kingdom lies with the people. That's called as a republic. And his times are marked by the existence of small kingdoms. They are called as Ganarajas. Of course, we call it out as republics. And among them, the Magadha kingdom is one of the mightiest kingdoms of his times, the Magadha kingdom. This Magadha kingdom was ruled by Bimbisara. Bimbisara was ruling the Magadha kingdom. So, Buddha's contemporary life was marked by small kingdoms, which are also called as Ganarajas or republics. And the famous and prominent kingdom among these small kingdoms are the Magadha kingdom, in which the King Bimbisara was the ruler. Now let us see Buddha's political and social ideas in different sources. What are the academic works that gives us details about Buddha's political ideas and social ideas? There are three types of sources here. One is Tripitakas. The Tripitakas are the three important books on Buddhist literature, Buddhist social and political culture, Buddhist discourses. Among them, the Vinaya Pitaka, the Sutta Pitaka, the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. These are the Tripitakas. So these Tripitakas have extensively given the wide-ranging ideas of Buddha on various social and political issues. So the first and foremost among the sources of Buddhist political ideas emanate from Tripitakas. In fact, Tripitakas by itself, consisting of three books, of course these three books are not written by Buddha himself, but after Buddha, all his disciples have gathered his discourses into academic book form, and they have categorized his discourse into three types: Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. In the Vinaya Pitaka, Buddha has categorically described the behavioral patterns of the individuals and community groups. What is the need of Vinaya? Vinaya means obedience. Obedience to the state, obedience to the law, law obedience. These things are discussed in Vinaya Pitaka. Likewise, Sutta Pitaka. Sutta means sutra, the principles behind the social order. That's called Sutta Pitaka. The behavioral patterns of the individual and also the community are discussed here. And also in Abhidhamma Pitaka, Buddha has also discussed about various obligations and duties of different sections of society, which includes the king also. The Rajadharma is also discussed in Abhidhamma Pitaka. So this is how the Tripitakas, these are the three books, which are gathered and made as a compendium of all the discourses given by Gautam Buddha during his lifetime. So once after Buddha, in the post-Buddha period, these Tripitakas are compiled by his disciples, the Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. And the other source of Buddhist political ideas is Digha Nikaya. Digha Nikaya is also another important book on Buddhist literature, Buddhist ideas, Buddhist social order, Buddhist cultural order, Buddhist economic and social political ideas. So this is called as a Digha Nikaya. In this Digha Nikaya, the Buddhist political ideas on the state formation and how people come to an agreement among themselves in the formation of the state are discussed. Buddha basically believed in social contract theory, wherein he has stated that people have no political organization or institution for a longer time. And in such a state of nature, in the state of nature where there was no political order or there was no political or formal institution as such or political structure as such, People lived in misery, where the strong man always used to repress the poor people. So in such a case, people elected one person among themselves, the strongest person of the society, as the king. So there is an agreement between the king and the people. So people wanted to pay taxes to the king, and king in turn assured surety and security to the property, lives and liberties of the people. This is how an agreement was reached by the king and the people. This is described in Diganikaya. Diganikaya is an important academic work on Buddhist political ideas. This political work, this academic work has described about the formation and origin of state. It has given the theory of origin of state, which includes the nature of state, which includes the state of nature, which also includes the obligations of the state, the welfare functions, the police functions, the spiritual functions and other functions of the state, and what are the do's and don'ts of the king. That's called as Rajadharma. So this is how Diganikaya is an important source of Buddhist political ideas. And third one is Jataka narrations. They are also called as Jataka stories. So Jataka stories are the stories given by various scholars making Buddha as a mythological figure, and they have written these stories with a profound imagination. So this is how the Tripitakas, Diganikaya and Jataka narrations, these are the three important sources through which we can know Buddha's political and social ideas. So these are the three important sources. One is Tripitakas, Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. And second one is Diganikaya. And third one is the Jataka narrations. Buddha by himself has not written any books, but Buddhist sources are the compilations of his discourses on various occasions. In fact, Buddha has only oratorial abilities and has given discourses to his disciples at different places and different occasions. All his discourses are compiled and made as a compendium. So Buddhist sources, Tripitakas or Diganikaya or Jataka narrations, all of them are nothing but the compilations of discourses on various occasions. And now let us see Buddha's political ideas. Among them, the idea of Dhamma is an important one. The idea of Dhamma, the Four Noble Truths, they are called as the Chaturari Sutras, and also the Eightfold Path, that's called Ashtanga Marga. Now let us see what is the idea of Dhamma. As I've told you in the beginning itself, Dhamma is nothing but Dharma. Dhamma is a Pali word and Dharma is a Sanskrit word. What does the Dhamma, the term Dhamma connotes? Dhamma is the idea of justice with an obligation. The idea of justice with a duty is called as Dhamma. And Dhamma has a very dynamic nature, and this dynamism makes the Dharma to explain about the Dhamma of an individual, the Dhamma of the community, the Dhamma of the king, the Dhamma of the state. So this is how Dhamma differs from one person to another person, from one age to another age, and from one age group to the other age group, and one social community to the other social community, and from the rulers to the ruled. This is how the idea of Dhamma is a very dynamic concept and differs from one person to another person. And during the course of explaining Dhamma, Gautam Buddha has also explained about the Four Noble Truths. They are called as the Chatur Arya Sutras. Chatur means four. Arya means noble. Truths means the sutras or the principles. So these are the four noble principles or noble truths about the livelihood in the social order. They are called as the Chatur Arya Sutras. So while discussing about the Chaturarya Sutras, Gautam Buddha has discussed about the Ashtanga Marga, or the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is nothing but the 8 ways of reforming oneself from the evils of society or from the greediness of the society. So this is how the Eightfold Path given by Gautam Buddha explains about various ways, or 8 ways, 8 important ways through which a human being can be reformed by himself, and a community can also be reforming itself by following the Eightfold Path. So now let us see what are the elements of Dhamma. The elements of Dhamma consisting of 4 important principles. They are called as the Chaturarya Sutras. The Chaturarya Sutras have 4 important elements. The first one is dukkha. Dukkha means human suffering, problems, pain, discomfort, suffering. So everything can be called as dukkha. All the negative happenings in the society and also to the individual. Displeasure, this is called as dukkha. Dukkha is nothing but a state of uncomfort. That's called as dukkha. That's called sufferings of the people. And the second one is tanha. Tanha means attachment or craving for something. That's called tanha. The desire to have something, desire to have a bond, desire to have a relation, desire to have material comfort, desire to have the relations. They are called as the tanha, attachment. And third one is nibbana. Nibbana means complete cessation of sufferings. How the tanha can be converted into nibbana. So how the sufferings can be completely wiped out. And for wiping out the discomfort or suffering, he has given us certain ways. So that's called as the resolution of conflicts. The resolution of conflicts is nothing but the dukkopashamana marga. The dukkopashamana marga means how to come out of the suffering and how to regain one's strength for self-respect and dignity, and come out from all the sufferings and discomfort. That's called as dukkopashamana marga. So these are the 4 important aspects that human being should strive for. The first one is dukkha, second one is tanha, third one is nibbana, and fourth one is dukkopashamana marga. So while the first 2 things, the dukkha and tanha, are the sources of discomfort or suffering, the other 2 are the ways to come out of the suffering and to come out of the attachment. So this is all the 4 principles. The first one explains about the reasons for human sufferings. It explains about the human wants and human greediness and human expectations that will lead to sufferings. So this is how dukkha, or discomfort, or pain, or suffering, how that will happen. That's the first thing. It explains about the roots of human sufferings. And second one is tanha. In course of having dukkha, human beings have a lot of desires. They have unlimited wants. And these wants are related to material comforts, or vehicular comforts, or people's craving for an attachment or bonding or relationships. So that's called as tanha. So the dukkha and tanha explains us about the reasons for the human sufferings. But the third one is nibbana. Nibbana means it gives us an idea to come out of the human suffering. So that's called as nibbana. And the fourth one gives us a way out He has expressed at least 8 ways out to come out of the dukkha, tanha. So this is called as dukkopshamana marga, how to resolve the disputes, how to resolve the conflict, resolution of problems in a peaceful manner, non-violent manner. That's called as dukkopshamana marga. So these 4 principles are called as the Chaturarya Sutras. They are called as the elements of Dhamma: dukkha, tanha, nibbana, dukkopshamana marga. And after that, the dukkopshamana marga, which consists of 8-fold path, 8 important ways through which human sufferings can be resolved. That's called as Ashtanga Marga. In the Ashtanga Marga, Gautam Buddha has raised down an 8-fold path for the people to come out of their sufferings. And among them, the first one is Samyak Drishti. Samyak Drishti means a right understanding. And in the human relations in the society, by an individual or by a community or by the rulers, everybody should have the right understanding of others. Unless you understand in a proper way your relationship with others, that will end you up in misery. So that's why Samyak Drishti. Samyak Drishti is the first important principle of Ashtanga Marga. So everybody need to have the right understanding of the relationships with others. That's called as Samyak Drishti. The second one is Samyak Sankalpa. Samyak Sankalpa means everybody need to have good thoughts. Of course, these thoughts may be positive thoughts or negative thoughts. But all the positive thoughts are considered as Samyak Sankalpa, or the right thoughts. So everybody need to have the right thought, right approach, right thinking patterns, right thinking process. That's called as the Samyak Sankalpa. So Samyak Sankalpa deters the individual from going into negative thoughts, and it affixes him to positive thoughts and positive thinking. That's called as Samyak Sankalpa. And third one is Samyak Vaku. Samyak Vaku means right speech. Everybody need to have right speech. If the speech is not right, one may end himself in a very troublesome situation. So that's why one should be very careful about his tongue, about his speech, about his body language, about his gestures, about his words and deeds. That's called as Samyak Vaku. So it is the right speech of the individual. That also brings pleasure, and it brings individual from all the discomforts and sufferings. So that's called the Samyak Vaku. And fourth one is Samyak Karma. Samyak Karma means the right action. Of course, there are 2 types of karmas, Sukarma and Dukarma. And all Sukarma are considered to be positive actions. The action that enhances the productivity of the society. The action that propagates good relations among the people. The actions that create right bonds among the people, right relationships among the people, right understanding among the people. That's called as the Samyak Karma. Samyak Karma is called a right action. So everybody need to think over before making it an action, whether the karma is a right action or a wrong action. So one should always be cautious to choose the right action. So that's called as the Samyak Karma. And fourth one is Samyak Jivan. Samyak Jivan means right livelihood, which should be model to others, which should also motivate others to imbibe your livelihood. That's called as right livelihood. A right livelihood is one in which human beings' desires and wants should be always rational, and human beings should not be greedy. Human beings should also be generous towards the problems of others, and he himself makes some the charity to wipe out others from their problems. That's called as Samyak Jivan. Samyak Jivan is the right livelihood of the people. And after that, Samyak Yatna. Samyak Yatna means right effort. Every person need to have good effort. Of course, theoretically one may have an idea or one may have ethical orientation, moral orientation in his mind. But unless otherwise that is realized into action and human effort, we cannot establish a good society. That's why a Samyak Yatna, as a right effort, is inevitable and invariable for establishing a good social order. So that's why Gautam Buddha says a Samyak Yatna is also a need of the society, and every individual need to have the Samyak Yatna or the right effort. And after that, Samyak Smriti. Samyak Smriti means right memories. No person should be pessimistic, and you should also be optimistic. When an individual is deeply immersed himself in bad memories, he may become pessimistic. That's why Gautam Buddha says one should motivate himself with right memories. And truthful memories are the memories that are very good in nature or positive in nature. That's called as Samyak Smriti, the right memories. And after that, Samyak Samadhi. Samyak Samadhi means right concentration. One should not only choose a right work and right effort, you should always have the concentration to complete the work. You should not leave behind the work in the initial stages itself. That's why concentration on the work, concentration on the obligation, concentration on completion of the goal, concentration on exercising the objectives. These are very important for any human being or any community as such. That's why Samyak Samadhi is an important aspect of the Ashtanga Marga. So this is how Gautama Buddha has given us the eightfold path. One is Samyak Drishti, right understanding; Samyak Sankalpa, right thought; Samyak Vakku, right speech; Samyak Karma, right action; Samyak Jivan, right livelihood; Samyak Yatna, right effort; Samyak Smriti, right memories; and Samyak Samadhi, the right concentration. So these are the 8 important ways through which any individual can come out of his miseries and sufferings. That's how Gautama Buddha has laid down the 8 important principles for reforming oneself with good behavior and with model code of conduct. So this is how Gautama Buddha has given the eightfold path as part of his 4 noble truths, that's called the Chaturarya Sutras. He has given these eightfold path as part of Dukkopshamana Marga, how to wipe out, how to come out of the sufferings. It's called as Dukkopshamana Marga. So these 8 important ways are called as 8 important paths or ways to achieve a model human being with a model code of behavior. Now let us see what is the importance of these 8 paths. Among these 8 paths, Samyak Drishti and Samyak Sankalpa are for human wisdom. In fact, they lay the foundation for intellectual faculties and utilizing the intellectual faculties to build a right society or right behavior and right relationships with other people. So Samyak Drishti and Samyak Sankalpa are for the wisdom, and that wisdom will only decide what is good and what is bad, what is just and what is unjust, what is fair and what is unfair, what is proper and what is improper. So this is how Samyak Drishti and Samyak Sankalpa facilitate the individual to have wisdom. And Samyak Vaku, Samyak Karma, and Samyak Jivan are for morality. So, Samyak Vaku, Samyak Karma, and Samyak Jivan provide the moral basis. They are for the moral building of the personality. Every human personality needs to have moral values and ethical orientation. So these important things, Samyak Vaku, Samyak Karma, and Samyak Jivan, provide a moral orientation to the human life, may it be to the human being or to the community or to the state by itself. And Samyak Yatna, Samyak Smriti, and Samyak Samadhi. These are again for at the individual level for concentration on the work, concentration on the objective, concentration on productivity. So it motivates the individual towards work and work culture. Samyak Yatna, Samyak Smriti, and Samyak Samadhi are for concentration on the fulfillment of one's own objectives. So this is how wisdom, morality, and concentration are the three important principles that lay behind the eightfold path of Gautam Buddha. Now let us evaluate Gautam Buddha's concept of Dhamma. It's of course a moral doctrine to self-reliance. Nobody should depend on others. Everybody need to have self-reliance and he should depend on himself more. So for having a good personality, one need to have some morals, moral orientation, ethical values. And this eightfold path provides a moral doctrine to self-reliance, both to the individual and to the community as such. And secondly, it motivates the work culture and productivity. It motivates the work culture among the people and productivity. It encourages the people to go for work culture, make people workaholics, and strive for productivity, productive use of time, productive use of resources. So in a way, the Ashtanga Marga motivates the people to have good work culture and productivity. And after that, it encourages self-respect and human dignity. The eightfold path, making persons independent without depending on others for the most part of their life, and make the people to live happily as an independent creature, independent entity, with self-respect and human dignity. One should respect himself before expecting respect from others. That's how self-respect is very important. And besides this, coupled with self-respect, every individual also needs to maintain human dignity. So it encourages self-respect and human dignity among the people with the help of Ashtanga Marga. Ashtanga Marga encourages self-respect and human dignity among the people. And after that, Gautam Buddha's concept of Dhamma and Chaturarya Sutra and also Ashtanga Marga, they are considered as the doctrines of equality and equity. Equity means justable distribution of resources and justable behavior, and equality means equal status, equal way of life, equal opportunities in the society. So this is how the doctrine of Dhamma and the doctrine of the Chaturarya Sutras or the Ashtanga Marga has given a roadmap for a moral doctrine to self-reliance, and it motivates work culture and productivity. It encourages self-respect and human dignity, and it's a way, in a way, it's a doctrine of equality and equity. So Gautam Buddha belonged to 6th century BC, and he has started Buddhism as an alternative to Hindu social order, Hindu religious order. And the political ideas and social ideas of Buddha are based on three important sources. One is Tripitakas, Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. And second one is Diganikaya, a book, a compendium prepared by his disciples after Gautam Buddha's departure. All his discourses are compiled into one academic compendium. That's called as Diganikaya. And thirdly, the Jataka narrations. So these are the three important sources through which Buddha's doctrine of Dhamma, his Chaturarya Sutra, and his Ashtanga Marga could very well be understood. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.